Hey guys, today I'm doing a review on the Sidekick Original Ultimate Boxing Gloves. So stay tuned. Hey guys, Carlo here, and today I'm doing a review on the Sidekick Original Ultimate Boxing Gloves. It comes in this white and gray colorway, 16 ounces, and a dual Velcro closure system. It only comes in one size, 16 ounces, as well as one colorway. It's made mostly of genuine leather with a synthetic mesh palm, layered foam padding over the knuckle area that has a medium density to it, and the gloves are manufactured in Pakistan. Now, Sidekick is a company based out of Australia. I actually did a review on a pair of their gloves several years ago. I think it was right around the pandemic in 2020, and those are, solid gloves. But the thing about these gloves is they're most well known for being the gloves that Andrew Tate used during his training, I'd say about 10 years ago. So around 2013 and 2014, when Andrew Tate still had hair before he went bald, he was using these gloves as part of his training. So that's kind of their claim to fame and what these gloves are known for. Now, the first thing that probably stands out to you, just like it did to myself, when you first see these look like a copy of the Hayabusa T3, or back in the day, used to call them the Hayabusa Tokushu gloves. They look pretty much identical in terms of the design. I'd say the biggest difference between these and the Tokushu is that these have that synthetic mesh on the palm. But in terms of the aesthetics of the gloves, they look pretty much the same, and they even have the same style with that Velcro closure system where you have the dual Velcro closure. So it's kind of a copycat of the Tokushu gloves. For being a 16 ounce gloves, these are definitely on the larger size when it comes to the size and profile of these gloves. I like to, compare different size 16 ounce gloves to other 16 ounce gloves in terms of not just weight, but the overall just size of the glove. And these are definitely on the larger side. Good for sparring if you need something a little bit more plush for yourself and for your sparring partner. But for bag work, hitting the mitts, I just prefer things that are a little bit more compact and a little bit more slim fitting, where these are definitely on the bulkier side. You can see it does have the gray leather and white leather that has, I'd say, more of a satin finish to the leather. It's not very shiny, and you have that segmented foam on the back of the glove that gives you a good amount of support on the back of your hand. And they say Sidekick Ultimate on the top of the glove. It kind of has a kind of that urban graffiti design in the red, and then rotating to the palm and finger side, you can also see it has that stitching that comes up and around. I'm not a fan of that really at all, just because it's kind of a weird place to have stitching, in my opinion, mainly because I don't feel like it's needed. And you can see it kind of comes up around, and it could definitely be qualified to be better, but you can kind of see how it rotates and comes down and kind of cuts off right there. So I'm not a big fan of that. You do have a leather attached thumb that rotates around. You can see the segmented piece between the thumb as well as on the back of the glove, and how the stitching kind of comes down. You'll notice that the padding on the back of the wrist is a little bit denser and stiffer than the padding that they use over the knuckle area. And you have two pieces of that. And again, that's just to kind of give you extra support when it comes to your wrist. I know a lot of you guys are not a fan of synthetic mesh, but you do have that on the palm. I'd say a medium to small size grip bar. Wish that was a little bit larger. So Sidekick right there. You do have the elastic to keep the two pieces together. 3.5 inch Velcro strap with white piping. It does say Sidekick. 16 ounces at the end of the tab. And then you have the dual closure system. So basically, the whole premise behind that is that you have the crisscrossing of the Velcro to give you a little more of a locked in feel for the wrist. So you have that comes across. And then on the inside, you have that tri-cut liner that's really nice and smooth. A really thick wrist pad, I'd say about 1.5 inches, maybe almost 2 inches of firm density foam. On the inside of the wrist, it's relatively slim, so maybe 1/8 of an inch of really soft foam on the inside of the wrist that comes up to right about there and ends where the synthetic mesh is at. Quality wise, these gloves are okay. I'd say they're average. There's a couple of things that I'm not a fan of with these gloves. Primarily the stitching, you can see it's just, could be a lot cleaner when it comes to that, and I feel like it's not really necessary. You do have synthetic mesh. You can see the stitching. Be done a little bit cleaner on the palm side, as well as in this area here where you can see the stitching. When you put the gloves on this scale, they are definitely underweight by about 1.5 ounces. So I believe that these came in at like 14.7 and 14.5 ounces when the gloves are advertised as 16 ounces. And the fact that you don't have any other choice in variety and sizing, to me, is a big missed opportunity. But you can see just, you know, the stitching to me is where it can be much improved, where that attached thumb is at as well. Right here, where it meets the mesh, another area of concern. Obviously the weight is a big thing. The glove is not top heavy, and that's just because they use such a thick piece of foam that goes down on the back of the wrist. So it's really, really rigid in that regard. You have that nice big thick piece of foam on the back of the wrist. I just wish there was a little bit more foam on the inside of the wrist, so you have a little bit more balance in terms of it not being so loaded on the back of your hand. The liner on it is really nice. I'd say again, the weight and the stitching is going to be the biggest concern when it comes to the quality of the gloves. Comfort of the gloves, putting these on, open up both Velcro straps. The liner feels very comfortable. You also have obviously the dual strap system for the wrist. Put that on. Again, just like Hayabusa. And I do like how it does give you a nice locked-in feel. My only concern with this, just like the same it is with Hayabusa, is that it sits down really low. And to me, that kind of defeats the purpose of the wrist support, because I feel like you need the wrist support higher up on your forearm, almost to the bottom part of your palm, where you can really lock in your wrist to prevent it from hyperflexing or going back or too far forward, or even to the side like this. So you have it all the way down here, but I feel like it should be higher up. And sometimes if you do it too tight, it can also kind of feel very restrictive as well when it's too low. So you have to be very mindful of how much you tighten that first elastic strap, because you can make it too tight. But the liner feels really good. The thumb positioning feels nice. I do feel like the piping is a bit too tight. I wish this was a little bit looser. And you can actually see, just based on the position of the piping and how it's kind of cut, you can see it's really kind of digs into my thumb right there. So I definitely wish that was looser and larger, especially since this glove only comes in one size. When you make a fist, it does not pull down on the tip, so you get a good amount of room, and you have about 1 inch of foam on the back of your thumb to give you support. It does have a nice deep finger compartment, so I do like that. You can feel the grip bar. You can also feel a little bit of the stitching, which I wish they covered up with felt and neoprene. But the width is perfect. It's not too wide, it's not too narrow, so it doesn't feel like my fingers are too crowded or they can spread too far apart. Nor is there any kind of void on the inside of the finger compartment where you feel like your hand kind of rubs around too much on the inside. So in terms of the finger depth and width, I feel like it's perfect for this glove. Thumb feels good, it's just a little bit too tight right down there. Padding wise, for the protection and performance, I'd say that this is a really good padding in terms of balance. Right in the middle, it's not too firm and stiff, but it's also not too soft like a puncher's glove where you feel like you could do a lot of damage if you were to use these in sparring. So you can see it has a good consistency. So for me, this is the type of padding that's great for relatively anything in the gym. If you're gonna do sparring, you're gonna hit the heavy bag, cobra bag, whatever it may be, I definitely think the padding on here is suitable for all of that. And using it on the bag, it feels really good, compresses nicely, which is a big plus. And definitely like the way the padding feels. I think that's probably the biggest highlight of this glove, is that layered foam padding, how it compresses down nicely and how well it performs. Cost-wise, these gloves are 179 British pounds, which equates to, once you convert it, the last time I checked to US dollars, is about 222 US dollars, which I think is very high for a glove like this. These are actually more expensive than the T3s. And I just don't think it's worth it at this price point of $222, mainly because you only get one colorway, one size, and even the graphics on it. Not a lot of people are a fan of kind of that urban, I guess you can say urban graffiti look, if you want to call it. Not everyone's a big fan of that. And again, you're kind of limited. The quality is average, especially with the stitching, you know, the mesh palm. For over a $200 glove, I would expect, you know, a full leather glove, you know, precision, crafted very nicely, on point with weight, not an ounce and a half underweight, especially if it's 16 ounces, and you only have one choice in sizing. The only thing to me, the biggest positive about this glove is going to be the padding. But again, at over $200, there's so many other gloves at even a more affordable price point that to me outperform this glove. And then, you know, being large, the size of the glove is really big. So it's, to me, one of those gloves that just needs a lot more refinement, more colors, more sizes. It just needs to be tweaked to be a better representative of the brand, because I feel like this is definitely not it. I do know that Andrew Tate used them, you know, 10 years ago, but again, you know, that was 10 years ago. So I feel like this is something that needs to evolve with the times and improve, become better, because at the price point that they're at, I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity for these gloves. So pros of the gloves are going to be the padding is definitely the biggest pro when it comes to these. Is, you know, you get that balanced feel when you're using these for sparring, if you're using these for bag work, hitting the mitts. To me, that's the best thing, as well as the comfort of the glove. The liner feels good. They're comfortable on the inside, nice finger compartment. Thumb feels good, except for a little bit of the tightness around the piping. The cons are gonna be the price, overpriced. No other size other than 16 ounces, no other colorways that are available for this, and then the quality, the stitching, definitely can be improved, especially for a glove at this price point. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box of where you can find these Sidekick Original Ultimate Boxing Gloves. See you guys later. Take care.